So along with Trailer 2, Rockstar also updated the website for GTA 6 with an overwhelming amount of info. We have 9 character bios, info pages for 6 locations, 10 videos, and 70 screenshots. So I think the best way to tackle everything here is to start off with the characters. We'll go through their bios, speculate a little bit about them, and then do a deep analysis of all their screenshots. The website starts off with this little passage. Vice City, USA. Jason and Lucia have always known the deck is stacked against them, but when an easy score goes wrong, they find themselves on the darkest side of the sunniest place in America, in the middle of a criminal conspiracy stretching across the state of Leonida, forced to rely on each other more than ever if they want to make it out alive. So here we get an idea of what the story might be about. Now, the only real score that we've seen so far is the one at the bank in Trailer 2, but that certainly doesn't seem like it would be an easy score. So I'm thinking that the score that goes wrong is going to be something relatively simple like a gas station robbery, but maybe someone gets killed and that's what makes the score more complicated. Either way, whatever this score gone wrong is, it's likely going to happen while we're still in the Leonida Keys or just early in the game and force us to relocate up north. I also think that this further establishes the theme of trust between Jason and Lucia. I think that they're ultimately going to be the only ones either of them can trust as things go south around them. Moving further down the page, we have our first character bio, Jason Duval. Jason's info reads, Jason wants an easy life, but things just keep getting harder. Jason grew up around grifters and crooks. After a stint in the army trying to shake off his troubled teens, he found himself in the Keys doing what he knows best, working for local drug runners. It might be time to try something new. To me, I think that Jason is content with where he is, at least at the start of the game. He also probably isn't thrilled that he's making his money through the drug trade, but because it's what he's good at, he just keeps at it. It wouldn't surprise me if Jason is looking for a way out, but Lucia is the one that pulls him deeper into the world of crime. Maybe Lucia thinks she's found a lucrative opportunity and convinces Jason to join in on that simple score that ends up going bad. We also get a very short video of Jason and Lucia embracing each other on Ocean Drive late at night. The lighting here looks really incredible. It's not harsh at all, and I think the way the light hits the side of this trash bin looks really realistic. It's slightly windy in the scene as you can see Lucia's hair move a little bit, and in the background you can see the flags moving in the wind as well. Over at the hotel, you can see the lights on the trees turn on and off, and you can also see NPCs grouped up in front of the hotel talking. Now, our first screenshot of Jason shows him in his car wearing the same outfit that we saw him wearing in the first part of Trailer 2. If we really zoom in on Jason's face, we can see just how detailed his skin is. You can see his pores and the freckles on the left side of his face. I also think it's neat how his hair pokes out of the hat. And speaking of hair, we can see that Jason has armpit hair. And let's also take a look at the hair on Jason's arm because I think that the way the light shines on it is really incredible. This specific part of the screenshot looks very realistic. The next screenshot shows Jason on a motorbike holding a gun. The bike is a Principe Alvino V1, and this is its first appearance in a GTA game, but the Principe brand was first introduced in GTA 5. The decal on this side of the motorbike seems noticeably worn, and the tire that we can see looks worn down as well. I also noticed that Jason is showing trigger discipline with his finger resting on the side of the gun, likely due to his time in the army. Jason is wearing a Vice City tank top in this screenshot, and in the previous one he was wearing a Leonida tank top, so Jason seems to be somewhat proud to be from Leonida. You can also see a pretty clear reflection in the sunglasses that are hanging from his tank top. I rotated and zoomed in on this reflection, but I couldn't really get anything out of it. I can see some lampposts and it looks like he might be on a dirt road, but I can't tell for sure. Jason also looks like he's straight out of an action movie in this pose. The sun hitting just the side of his face looks great, and the sunlight hitting the back of this palm tree looks even better. This next screenshot has Jason and his friend Cal in a bar, with Cal seemingly holding Jason back from reacting to these two guys standing behind them. Jason's beard looks slightly longer than it did in the previous screenshot, and I think at this point I've seen enough evidence to say that the hair growth mechanics from RDR2 are definitely in GTA 6. His beard just seems like it's in an in-between state. Like, this wouldn't be a beard option for you to choose from at the barber shop like in GTA 5. This feels like it's just naturally growing out. On the counter, we can see a cigarette that has just been extinguished in the ashtray, as you can see smoke still coming up. I guess this means that either Jason or Cal are smokers. To the left of the ashtray, we can see a money clip, which implies to me that we could be in the middle of some sort of deal happening, which could also be why these two men seem to be looming right behind him. You can also see marks on the counter where stuff has been before. It looks a little too big to be from a bottle, but it seems like it's just about the same size as the ashtray, so that's probably what it's from. On Jason's wrist is a watch displaying the time in military time, further building on Jason's experience in the army and how it's shaped him. Jason is also wearing his Brian's Marina hat, which he seems to love wearing. I'm pretty sure that this is the same hat that he was wearing in the first screenshot, but it was on backwards, so we can't really know for sure. The guys in the background seem like they might work in construction, as the man in the front has some sort of tool clipped on his belt, and the guy behind him has shorts that clearly have paint on them. Or maybe they've just come to the bar after a day of doing some home improvement. I think it's interesting that Cal is seemingly holding Jason back here, as if he knows that Jason is likely to lose his temper on these guys, but it's also possible that Cal is just trying to get Jason's attention. Cal also looks like he's in the middle of saying something to those men, probably trying to resolve the situation and keep the tension from turning into something worse. And in the back left, you can see a jukebox on the wall, so it's possible that we can pick the music when we're in bars or restaurants. We then get another short video of Jason, this time robbing a 24/7 convenience store. In this clip, Jason is wearing a V-Rock shirt, which was a radio station from Vice City. The logo isn't exactly the same as it was in Vice City, so it's possible that this is an updated version of the logo for the modern day V-Rock radio station. I think this makes it pretty likely that V-Rock is going to be in GTA 6 as a radio station also. In the back on the left, it seems like this is a display with books or magazines, which seems like an odd thing to have in a modern day convenience store, so maybe it isn't either of those things. Whatever it is, it's being sold for $5. And actually, after I recorded this audio, I saw a post on the GTA 6 subreddit that pointed out that this is the poster for Michael's Meltdown movie from GTA 5. So this is actually a display of DVDs. If you stop on the right frame, you can get a glimpse at an E-Cola soda fountain behind Jason. And as Jason brings his hand close to the front of the frame, you can get a better view of his shirt and see the individual threads on it. Just an insane level of detail here. Also, you can see some reflection in Jason's sunglasses, but there isn't enough detail here for me to make anything out of it. And below this video, we get some more text. The first being a quote, "If anything happens, I'm right behind you." I'll assume that this is Jason saying this to Lucia because that would make sense from what we know, and the text below it is talking about Jason's relationship with Lucia. It also further builds on that theme of trust that we keep seeing. In addition to that, we have another set of text that reads, "Another day in paradise, right? Meeting Lucia could be the best or worst thing to ever happen to him. Jason knows how he'd like it to turn out, but right now, it's hard to tell." And this just pushes me further into my theory that it's Lucia that gets them pulled deeper into the criminal world, and more specifically gets them thrown into something that gets out of control. I think that Jason might be more romantic than we're seeing, and has dreams of a more normal, domesticated life with Lucia, but that might only ever be a dream for Jason. But this is purely my own speculation, so we'll just have to wait and see what else we learn about Jason down the line. The next screenshot for Jason shows him with a rifle, likely on a rooftop. We get a great view of the Vice City skyline behind him as well. And even though it's out of focus, I'm still blown away by how large it seems Vice City is going to end up being. We can also see a great example of beautiful American art in the form of the spaghetti highway system. The left side of Jason's face is illuminated by a green light, probably coming from a neon sign for a store, or maybe it's coming from an electronic billboard nearby. Jason's also squinting his eyes, and you can see the skin near his eyes scrunch up. In our next screenshot, we see Jason standing out by Ocean Drive once again, this time by himself and with his phone in his hand. Jason's phone is an iFruit phone, which is supposed to be a parody of Apple's iPhones, but this phone doesn't really look like a typical iPhone. You would imagine if they were parodying iPhones, they would at least have two large cameras on the back, but instead we have this one tiny camera. There's also this port on the top of the phone, which you would never see on a modern iPhone. And if we turn our attention to the palm tree that Jason's leaning against, it is very detailed. And if we look at Jason's clothing, we can see how detailed his clothing is. There's a rip in Jason's pants, and you can see the stitching on his shirt sleeve. Looking to the background, you can see NPCs sitting at a table at this restaurant, but you can also see what appears to be a waiter taking someone's order. You can also see a TV on through this window, and if you look at the rooftop, you can see a bunch of NPCs. The next screenshot shows Jason and Cal on a boat with a fishing pole in Jason's hand and binoculars in Cal's hands. Starting off with the fishing pole, take a look at the detail and the texture on the fishing pole. This also basically confirms that you'll be able to fish in GTA 6, probably using the same mechanics from Red Dead Redemption 2. Also, you can once again see the visible seams in Jason's shirt, and you can see reflections in his sunglasses. In the boat, you can see the global illumination and reflections as well. You can see that this is light bouncing from the ocean into the boat onto the ceiling of the boat. Here, there's a beer that's a little over half drunk, and based on the houses and the general environment, it's likely that this scene is taking place in the Leonida Keys. Next, we move on to Lucia Caminos. The intro video for Lucia is just an alternate angle of the one we got for Jason, so there isn't much more to add here. I guess the coolest thing in this video is the purple neon lighting that we can see hitting Jason's back and the top of Lucia's head. This could be seen from the other angle, but it's a lot more prominent here. We can see that Lucia has a gun in her hand behind Jason's back as well. In the background, you can visibly see the light from this car's headlights. And right below this video, we get some more text. Lucia's father taught her to fight as soon as she could walk. Life has been coming at her swinging ever since. Fighting for her family landed her in the Leonida Penitentiary. Sheer luck got her out. Lucia's learned her lesson. Only smart moves from here. So this actually gives us a lot of info on Lucia. The line about her fighting for her family leads me to believe that Lucia has been involved in the criminal world for most of her life, and she decided that this was the best way for her to provide for her family. She's seemingly getting let out early, so the crime committed can't be too horrible. We also learn that her dad taught her to fight from an early age. This could be interpreted literally as in her dad trained her as a kid, or it could be metaphorically as in her dad toughened her up in general at an early age. But I'd say it's much more likely to be the first option here, considering we're about to see a screenshot of Lucia going at it at a punching bag. Now, the part about her having learned her lesson and that she's only making smart moves now makes me think that she just decided to be more cautious with her crime, not that she's going to be completely letting go of her criminal past. Or maybe she's trying to turn over a new leaf after getting out of prison, but she ends up seeing an opportunity that she just can't pass up. And now it's time for our first screenshot of Lucia with the punching bag that I was just talking about. And this, along with the shot of Jason lifting weights on the beach, gives me great confidence that we're going to be able to change the physique of both Lucia and Jason by working out. I imagine that this isn't the only thing we can do in the gym, since there's a bunch of other equipment in the background. Now, if we focus our attention to Lucia, we can see the veins in her left arm as it tenses up and punches. We can also see that she has whatever the iFruit equivalent is to Apple AirPods in her ears. Here, her face is scrunched up as you would expect it to be when you're working out, and she's also very sweaty. It seems that sweat is not just going to be something that stays on the character model either, as you can see sweat particles flying off from the direction of Lucia's punch. At least that's what I'm pretty sure that is. You can also see this strand of hair loose from the rest of her hair, probably from the motion of her working out. The next screenshot shows Lucia in the pool with Jason in the background, and Lucia once again has headphones in, which makes me think that we're going to be able to listen to music through headphones while we're just out walking around, or maybe while we're in the pool. Although I don't know if what we're seeing here is strictly gameplay. It feels more likely to me that this is from a cutscene, or at the very least is scripted in some way. In the reflection in Lucia's sunglasses, you can see the pool's concrete and the wooden deck surrounding it, along with the railing around the pool. And if we look at Lucia's skin, it looks like she just came up from the water in the pool. I also hope she put sunscreen on because it looks like the sun is absolutely baking her here. I also noticed that Lucia's nails are manicured, meaning we'll probably be able to go to the nail salon as Lucia to get a manicure. On her left, we can see what is probably a strawberry daiquiri, and I can't stop talking about how good the lighting is in this game. This just looks incredible. On her right, we can see that Lucia has her phone perched on top of a towel. We can see that the screen is on, but I can't tell what exactly the app icons are. The green one is probably just the Contacts app, but I have absolutely no idea what this purple one is. On the sides of the pool, we can see several NPCs laying out on the pool chairs sunbathing. This one seems to be taking a selfie. And based on the buildings we can see in the background, it seems pretty likely that this is in Vice City. In the next screenshot, we see Lucia handcuffed and walking through prison. Here, her hair is braided and her hair is noticeably longer than it is in any of the previous screenshots, or even in trailer 2. This character we can see through the glass looks like a terrifying inbred woman who time traveled from Red Dead Redemption 2. And the NPC behind Lucia has facial scarring and is rocking a mullet. We can see a prison guard on the left, and I think it's likely that we play as Lucia in the prison at least a little bit. It could very easily be where a lot of the game's tutorials happen. Also, I could keep talking about the lighting and clothing textures, but I think I've talked about that stuff plenty of times now, so I'm just gonna move on. Then we get some text about Lucia that says, "More than anything, Lucia wants the good life her mom has dreamed of since their days in Liberty City. But instead of half-baked fantasies, Lucia is prepared to take matters into her own hands." So first things first, pretty cool that we get a direct mention of Liberty City here. But we also learn more about what drives Lucia. It seems like family is very important to her and she's willing to do whatever it takes to make life better for her family. I mean, we already know that Lucia's time in prison is because of her fighting for her family, so it seems like this just confirms that this is still going to be Lucia's primary focus once she gets out. I'm also wondering if this means that Lucia's mom or dad will be showing up in the game at all. They seem to be really important to Lucia, so I would be more surprised if they didn't make an appearance after reading all of this. We then get this short video of Lucia sticking her head out of the window as the car drives down Ocean Drive. Now, this gave me flashbacks to when I made my video overanalyzing Trailer 1, because in that video I brought up how a similar scene didn't look great in terms of the hair physics. Now, I remember this scene getting picked on by that one Twitter account a while back, saying that Lucia's hair doesn't react properly to the wind. And sure, that's true here, but I have confidence that it'll react properly in the final game, given everything we've seen in the rest of the trailer. This, on the other hand, I think looks fantastic. But what also looks fantastic is the physics of her necklace as she sticks her head out the window. The way that it continues to sway after the initial movement looks so realistic. And here's something new that I only just now noticed while I'm editing the video, and that is that Lucia's necklace is actually a boxing glove. I've been staring at it every time I've watched through the trailer and these screenshots, and I just could never make out what it was until I zoomed in on it in this edit. So this makes me think that boxing is a much larger part of Lucia's life than previously thought. And it's probably what's being directly referenced in the previous text where it was talking about Lucia being taught to fight by her father. And I know it's been said so many times already, but the population density and the NPCs is just still insane to me. We can see a group of people on the sidewalk here, and there's even 2 NPCs sitting on the wall. It just feels very organic and natural. I think I'm going to spend a lot of time just watching how NPCs behave when we finally get our hands on the game. And below this we get a quote from Lucia. The only thing that matters is who you know and what you got. Again, this seems to be emphasizing how important family is to Lucia, but it could also just be her saying that in order to succeed, you need to have the right people around you. Then we get more text on Lucia. A life with Jason could be her way out. Fresh out of prison and ready to change the odds in her favor, Lucia is committed to her plan, no matter what it takes. I feel like this is just re-emphasizing what we've already got from the previous text for Lucia. She's hoping to make her life better and she's willing to do anything to see that dream come true. But whatever that plan is, Jason seems to be integral, or maybe it's just that Jason is the only person she can trust completely to help her see her dream become reality. Our next screenshot has Lucia taking cover behind something, and we can see some man that is very clearly looking for her. Lucia also looks a little sweaty, or maybe it's raining outside and she's just come in from the rain. Her hair looks somewhat wet and you have these loose strands dangling in front of her face that makes me think that she's been running. It's possible that Lucia is hiding in a home and this is a sliding glass door that we're seeing this man through. I only say that because of this wood paneling and this thing. I don't know, it just looks like it could be a glass door. Maybe she quickly ran inside some home to hide. No idea if I'm even close to being right here though. And I don't have much more to say about this screenshot that I haven't already noted in the other screenshots, so I guess I'll just say once again the lighting looks great here. You can see the pores on her face so visibly, it's really insane. The next screenshot sees Lucia in the nightclub wearing the same gold dress that she had on in much of trailer 2. And the way that the lighting in this club is interacting with it is really cool. We also see her holding a phone that looks to be the same model as the one Jason has. And I am not a makeup expert by any means, big surprise, but it seems like Lucia has some sort of glitter makeup on above her eyes. Either that or the lighting in the scene kind of just makes it look that way. And all of the NPCs that we can see in this shot have different and unique hairstyles. The NPC on the left also has 2 visible tattoos, further establishing how varied and unique the NPCs will be in the game. The final screenshot of Lucia shows her sitting on a motorbike outside of a bar. Now, the first thing that caught my attention was the license plate. This license plate is registered to the state of Gloriana, not Leonida, and it's already been heavily speculated that a fictionalized version of the state of Georgia is going to be present in the game, either with it directly being in the game or just parts of it making its way into Leonida. Now, just because we have a license plate that it's registered to Gloriana doesn't mean it's going to be in the game as a location we can visit. But I feel like this license plate gives more weight to the idea that the state of Gloriana is going to actually be in the game. But if it is in the game, I doubt it'll be the entire state. It'll probably just be a small portion of it, if any at all. But there's actually more speculation we'll get to do on the state of Gloriana later in the video, so I'll save this discussion for later. The bar is called Hoodwinks, and it seems to be in a somewhat grimy part of town. I have no clue what town or city this is in though, but it might even be in Gloriana. Now, turning our attention towards the bike, I'm really impressed by how the brake lights look on vehicles in this game. And I mean, this isn't the most incredible example, we'll get to that later, but this is still a noticeable improvement on what we had in GTA 5. I mean, look at the way the light illuminates the back of the bike. You can even see the light hitting Lucia's jacket. It's just really impressive. Up on the rooftop, there is a massive rat. And finally, if we take a look at Lucia's face, we can see her hair casting shadows on her face. Below this, we have some new key art for the game, and this doesn't give us much of anything in the way of new info, but the one thing I wanted to point out was how Lucia is also displaying trigger discipline, just like we saw Jason do in one of the screenshots from earlier. Below that art, we have more text that says, "Only in Leonida, when the sun fades and the neon glows, everyone has something to gain and more to lose." And this is just kind of general advertising text. I don't really think that there's anything to read into here. But after that text, we get introduced to our first side character, Cal Hampton. His introduction text reads, "What if everything on the internet was true? Jason's friend and a fellow associate of Brian's, Cal feels safest hanging at home, snooping on Coast Guard comms with a few beers and some private browser tabs open." Now, Cal reminds me a lot of Ron from GTA 5, but maybe a little more dialed back. We'll probably be relying on him if we ever have to go up against the government. And it sounds like we'll be spending a lot of time with Cal since Jason is friends with him and we work with him for Brian. Our first screenshot of Cal shows him at some mini-golf place, and the first thing that I thought of is, mini-golf minigame? This seems like it could be fun and a nice change from the full-on golf side activity you could do in GTA 5. And also maybe a date night activity for Jason and Lucia. I'm also a huge fan of the alligator theme, and I just really like the detailed decoration all over the place here. I'm also curious as to whether or not this is inside some sort of like larger theme park, or if this is just one of the million mini golf places set up for tourists in Florida. Also, Cal just seems like a goofy guy with him sticking his tongue out for the camera. I can't wait to see this guy in the game. In the next screenshot, we see Cal and Jason walking away from Brian's marina. Both of them are carrying duffel bags, probably with weapons in them. Now, it's rumored that we'll be storing all of our weapons in the trunk of our car, but carrying around a duffel bag might give us access to more weapons if we end up further away from the car. This screenshot also made me realize that the marina we see in the opening shot of trailer 2 is Brian's marina. Below this screenshot, we have a video of Cal out on a boat as a plane passes overhead. We can see the plane dropping a package, and I think it's safe to assume that these packages we see already in the boat got picked up by Cal. In GTA 5 and online, we were often the ones doing the delivering, so it could be fun to change things around and have us be the ones collecting the packages. Though I'm sure we'll still be doing plenty of deliveries, especially on online. And the detail on the straps for the package is just really crazy. Below this, we get a quote from Cal. "There are way too many birds flying around in perfect formation." And I honestly don't have anything insightful to add to this. In this next screenshot, we see Jason and Cal at a bar playing pool. Behind them, there are two NPCs chatting, and one of them has an iguana on their shoulder wearing a crown and what looks like a Hawaiian shirt. Now, a lot of people pointed out that the iguana in the opening shot of Jason's house, I guess, there's an iguana walking around, and people were saying that this iguana has a shirt on. And at first, I didn't believe them, but I've gone back and checked, and I'm pretty sure it does have a shirt on. So, is this the same iguana? And if so, what's going on? Is this just like a local icon? Does Leonida have an iguana that wears a shirt that just kind of hangs out and is okay with sitting on random people's shoulders? Is this her pet? Does she let her pet iguana that wears a Hawaiian shirt wander around aimlessly? That's pretty cool. I mean, I think that there's a high risk that she wakes up one day and finds her iguana, flattened in the middle of the road. But I mean, if that's how she wants to live her life, sure, go ahead. Also, this guy talking to the woman with the iguana on her shoulder might be a supporting character since we've seen him in a previous screenshot, at least I think we have. And specifically the one with Cal at the mini golf place. I think that it might be this guy. I think they're the same guy, I don't know. Up on the TV screen, we can see what's probably the entrance to the alligator mini golf place. And the amount of detail in this bar is insane. Every corner is packed with something interesting. There's this one sign on the wall here that says Joe Shorts Blast, and then the rest gets cut off. I don't know what else it's saying, but the bottom text says destroyed doing what he loved, fishing. And there's likely more text after fishing that we aren't able to see also. And it seems like this destroyed item is on the sign here, and it looks like it's some sort of wooden deck chair maybe. Either way, I can't wait to see this full sign for myself in game and get the full explanation because I'm very curious about this. In the next screenshot, we see Cal lounging in an inflatable flamingo float holding a beer. And there are a few more beers floating nearby in the water, and there's one drink in its own little floaty, and I'm pretty sure this is a pina colada. Cal looks a little bit sunburnt around his shoulders and chest, and I'm starting to think that there is some sort of dynamic system in place that gives characters sunburns depending on how long they're out in the sun. We've seen this in a couple of screenshots with Jason, but it seems like it applies to all characters, even NPCs. So I imagine as your character you can apply sunscreen to avoid getting burnt. But I'm not sure if many players will actually be doing this because, it's just appearance that's changing, for us at least. So I'm wondering if getting sunburnt in the game is going to give you some sort of health debuff. Or maybe if Jason gets sunburned, he's just going to be verbally complaining to Lucia about it for a couple days. And to put one more final comment on this screenshot, I just want to say that the water looks amazing here, and you can see some of the drinks spilling out from the cans into the water, which is a nice little subtle touch. Next, there is a piece of text on the website that says, "The psychopaths are in charge. Get used to it. Cal is at the low tide of America and happy there. Casual paranoia loves company, but his friend Jason has bigger plans." So from this text, it looks like Cal is pretty content with where he is in life. Jason, on the other hand, wants something bigger and better, and this kind of contradicts my earlier thoughts about Jason being content, but maybe that's because Lucia pulls him into something he just can't refuse. Maybe Jason starts off content like Cal, but Lucia comes to him with an opportunity that's just too good to pass up, and Cal gets roped into whatever they're planning. Alright, now we're diving into our first location, Vice City. Now each location also comes with a postcard that's actually a short video clip about a second or two long, and the Vice City one gives us an incredible view of the skyline, showing us just how massive this city is. In the foreground, there are a couple of small islands that appear uninhabited, no people or animals there, and we can probably take a boat out to any of these islands. I'm sure Rockstar has hidden some secrets on them, even if there aren't any visible structures or people, and you better believe I'm going to be checking out every single one of these islands. In the background, there's another island that seems to connect to something off-frame to the left, and I'm pretty sure this island matches the one from Trailer 1. In the distance on the left, we can see a Ferris wheel, and then if we turn our attention to the right side of this frame, we can see some cranes, so there's probably some construction happening, and I'm looking forward to seeing this building stay under construction for the next 20 years. We then get this text introducing us properly to Vice City. Everything in excess. We're a long way from the 80s, but Vice City is still the sun and fun capital of America. The glamour, hustle, and greed of America captured in a single city. Each neighborhood has something to offer, from the pastel Art Deco hotels and bright white sands of Ocean Beach, to the bustling panaderias of Little Cuba and the bootleg brands of the Tishawaka Flea Market, out to the VC Port, the cruise ship capital of the world. Just from this passage alone, we learn a lot about how detailed and varied Vice City is going to be. I mean, we already had a good idea as to what we could expect based on the original Vice City, but I'm so eager to explore Vice City in a modern setting. It sounds like each neighborhood is going to be worth exploring. I feel like we're going to be spending days just exploring each little area and finding new things even years after the game is finally out. I'm also curious about how much of these locations and things will actually be interactable. I mean, are we going to be able to walk into and shop at the Panderias in Little Cuba? Are we going to be able to buy bootleg items from the flea market? And most importantly, are we going to be able to board a cruise ship? I mean, let's be realistic, it's probably unlikely that we're going to be able to get on a cruise ship, but I mean, it would be cool. Moving on to our first screenshot for Vice City, this screenshot focuses on the Vice City sign sitting out near the airport. The lighting here is incredible. You've got the sun peeking through from behind the letters, and the lighting under each letter shining on the sign as well. There's a ton of detail on the sign itself too, with visible grime, sludge, and dirt that really sells how weathered it is. Flying right overhead is a plane with its landing gear down, which means the runway is probably just behind the sign. We can also see this chain-linked fence, which means the runway is almost certainly right there. I'm sure there are other objects in the distance here that someone more knowledgeable on aviation could point out to definitively decide what part of the airport this is, but I am not that guy. The plane looks massive in this shot, and it makes me wonder, will trees or foliage react to the wind if a plane flies close enough? This next screenshot looks like it's taken from the balcony of a hotel room overlooking the beach and a luxury pool area. What stands out immediately is how alive this scene feels. You've got people in the pool, people laying out on chairs, others walking around, and even a random NPC riding a bike through what looks like sand over on the right. I'm not sure why he's doing that because, I mean, as far as I know, riding a bike on sand is not the easiest thing. And there's probably more NPCs in this one screenshot than you'd find walking down an entire street in Los Santos. Looking closer, there's a fallen palm tree branch just sitting on top of one of the awnings of the cabana, which is a nice little environmental detail. And on the balcony with us, there's this older woman with visible sunspots and aged skin, which shows just how far Rockstar is going with the NPC detail. The guy next to her has the exact same tattoo design as one of the cops from trailer 2, except this version is fully black and white. That could either mean customizable tattoos or just reused art with different shading. One of my favorite tiny details is the spoon on the saucer next to the coffee cup. It's actually reflecting the sky above it and some of the balcony too. And down by the pool, you can see how the pool lights react in real time. There's an NPC partially blocking one of the lights on the left side, and the light is peeking out only from the side that isn't obstructed. This next screenshot has so much detail it's probably impossible for me to catch everything. But let's start with this basketball court in the bottom left. This guy with the basketball in his hands might be Cal, and the man jumping could be Jason. And if that's true, then this woman leaning on the railing nearby is probably Lucia, and it looks like she's on her phone. That could be an idle animation playing out in real time, which is pretty cool. Also on the court, there are 2 NPCs stretching, plus a couple of gym bags and water bottles lying around. Just small details, but it makes the whole area feel lived in and real. Down on the street, this bus is packed with people, which is something we rarely saw in GTA 5. Sure, NPCs populated buses, but this one is absolutely packed. Right next to that bus stop is what looks like a bike rental rack. I'm curious if we'll be able to rent bikes across the city now. And in the bottom right corner, it looks like there's a chase and an arrest going down. There's a group of NPCs involved in a cop car pulled over, which adds even more life to the street. I'm actually pretty excited about this because it seems like police and NPC interaction is going to be much more common compared to GTA 5. I absolutely loved how the police would arrest NPCs in GTA 4, and I'm glad to see that it might be making a comeback in 6. Over on the dock, there's a single NPC sitting, and further back we can see the hotel pool fully populated with NPCs. Over on the left, the road is filled with cars, and it seems like street traffic will be a lot heavier in this game. In GTA 5, you could usually fly down a street at full speed without hitting anything, but that might not be so easy here. On one of the buildings in the middle left, there's a mural painted on the side, and on the right you can see balconies filled with all kinds of beach props. Finally, the draw distance is insane. You can see way out into the city skyline without any fog or haze blocking your view. This is probably one of the most realistic looking screenshots we've gotten so far. This next screenshot doesn't have as much going on compared to the last one, but there are still some interesting details to look at. The guy in front has super realistic hair, and if you look closer, he's got a scar on the bottom right of his chin, another one on the left side of his chest, and some visible moles across his whole body. He's also got grills on his teeth, which could be another sign of just how varied the NPC appearances are going to be. The guy in the back is wearing 3 separate chains, and that makes me curious how they'll move when he's walking around. Do they clip through each other, or did Rockstar actually figure out a way to keep them layered and moving properly? His tank top is also detailed, and you can see the seams and the ridges in the fabric clearly. In the background, there are a bunch of power lines, and I'm wondering if those are actually physical objects this time. In GTA 5, you could fly straight through them, so they weren't really a part of the world. And down in the bottom left, there's what looks like a tarp draped along a wall, and right above that is a mural painted directly on it. Our next screenshot takes us down onto the beach, and once again, it shows just how densely populated this world is going to be. There are NPCs everywhere, all doing their own thing. Right in the foreground, there's a topless woman sunbathing. She's laying face down with a drink to her left, and if you look close, you can actually see sand stuck to her butt. Next to her, there's a guy with a metal detector who's just staring at her. You can see that he is completely sunburnt and his stomach is pushing his swim shorts down. To the right of him, there's an older man who's also sunburnt across his chest and neck, and he's staring at the same topless woman. It looks like he's either drenched in sweat or finally decided to lather on some sunscreen. His feet are covered in sand and the texture on his skin fits his age really well. Walking next to him is a woman who looks extremely unhappy, probably because her husband keeps checking out every woman on the beach. Her arm is sunburnt too, and there's sand on her feet with a little trail of it kicking up behind her as she walks. Now, someone on Reddit, who I don't remember, maybe I'll find and I'll put it on the screen now, but someone on Reddit pointed out that she has a scar on her right leg, probably from a surgery, likely the kind you get after a fall. Over on the right, there's a woman in a red bathing suit taking a selfie, and just behind her, 2 guys are tossing a football. Back up near the lifeguard tower, we can see a lifeguard using binoculars and a bunch of seagulls on it as well. There's a couple holding hands walking together on the far left, and in the background you can spot a group of NPCs riding bikes down the boardwalk. The next screenshot shows what looks like a random police event we might be able to stumble onto while exploring. You can see that the back of the police car has visible condensation on it, and the pavement on the right side of the image still looks wet, so it probably just finished raining. And this also made me realize that we still haven't really seen what the weather system looks like in GTA 6. Sure, we see plenty of screenshots and stuff in the trailers that show what it looks like after it's been raining, but we haven't seen it actually raining yet. But that's a discussion that I'll save for a later video. The back of the car says Vice Beach Police, and next to that are what look like social media icons. The one with the L is probably for Life Invader, and the heart icon might be a parody of Instagram. Whatever it is, I don't think we've seen it yet in a GTA game. The brake lights on the car look insanely realistic, and you can even see their red glow reflecting off the handcuffs hanging from the officer's belt. The woman getting arrested is posing for the woman in the yellow dress's selfie. Off to the left, one of the cops has his veins clearly visible on his arm, which adds a layer of realism to the character models. I mean, every NPC in this shot has a different body type, a different hairstyle, and different personalities based on the different ways they're behaving in this scenario. And in the following screenshot, we have what is, at least to me, an extremely claustrophobic screenshot. I would like to escape this screenshot. I want to get out of here. I feel like I'm going to get crushed to death. But despite my personal feelings towards this screenshot, there's still a lot of detail in this screenshot. You can see sweat dripping down both the NPC on the right and the one on the left. And someone on Reddit pointed out that the presidents on these dollar bills are the ones from Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a pretty cool Easter egg. And in the background, there's a shimmering curtain catching the light in a really natural way. You can see it bouncing off the fabric just like it would in real life. Next up, we have another wide view of Vice City, but this time we're seeing it at night. And even though it is at nighttime, the city still feels very much alive. Down in the bottom left, there's still a decent amount of cars on the road, and just like in many of the previous screenshots, we've got NPCs all over the place doing various different things. You can see them walking along the sidewalks and even some on the bridge nearby. On the bottom right, we've got the entrance to the Vice City Arts Center, and just above that we can see a highway cutting through the middle of the frame, and it looks appropriately busy for nighttime traffic. In the center of the image is a massive arena, and I'm pretty sure we saw the same arena back in trailer 1. The inside of the arena appears lit, and it's possible that we could be able to enter it, but this is also likely just, fake. And once again, the Ferris wheel makes an appearance, and right behind that, you can spot this massive cruise ship docked by a nearby port. And the draw distance here is actually insane. We can see a lot all the way out to the horizon. And in our final screenshot for Vice City, the first thing that caught my eye was this Gloriana license plate. But I also just wanted to point out that there's something specifically about this car that looks very realistic, and I can't put my finger on it exactly. I think it mostly has to do with the way the brake lights are glowing, because that just looks insanely realistic. Or maybe it's just the general design of the car that I think looks cool. The pillars here spell out Pearl, which matches a tattoo we saw in one of the NPCs earlier, so this is likely gang territory. On the left side of the shot, there's a group of people riding dirt bikes, likely the same crew from trailer 1. And right next to them, there's an NPC leaning against a pillar with a dog by his side, which is just another example of how varied and grounded NPC behavior is going to be. Stuff like this, we kind of got a glimpse at in Red Dead Redemption 2, but this feels like the next evolution. We're going to see it more in the later screenshots, but I feel like NPC interaction with our environment is going to be taken to a whole new level in this game. And if we look under the road that is above, you can see all the grime and dirt built up, just like you'd expect to see in real life. There's also a Haitian flag visible, which probably means we're in Little Haiti. And up at the top of the shot, there's a billboard advertising a bunch of products for a brand called Man Man. The slogan underneath says, Pasha Ma Do... I don't know how to pronounce this. Pasche mis delicieux. That's going to be my best attempt. That's going to have to do. And this is French and roughly translates to cheap but delicious. And now we get to check out another new character, Boobie Ike. His text reads, "It's all about Heart, the Jack of Hearts. Boobie is a local Vice City legend and acts like it. One of the few to transform his time in the streets into a legitimate empire spanning real estate, a strip club, and a recording studio, Boobie's all smiles until it's time to talk business." Now, Boobie is an interesting character because we don't really know exactly how he fits into the story yet. He seems to be pretty successful, and it sounds like he's doing things legit. Given that we've got a whole character bio for him, he's probably going to be an important contact for Jason and Lucia at some point. But maybe for Jason and Lucia, it's more about who Boobie knows more than what he does. He's probably very well connected throughout Vice City, so if we need to get in contact with anyone, we could probably get Boobie to make that connection happen. Now, I'm gonna be honest, there's not a whole lot we can learn from these screenshots for Boobie, so this is going to be a bit of a speed run. In the first screenshot, we can see Boobie holding a stack of cash sitting in what is probably his office in the club he runs. We can see a screen being reflected in his glasses, and the texture on his chair is really detailed and his hair looks realistic as well. The light coming from the lamp behind him is dim and accurately lights the room. The next screenshot is a close-up of Boobie, but I'm much more interested in what's happening behind him in the background. We once again get a glimpse at how improved the hair physics is going to be in the game, with this woman being upside down and her hair reacting properly. On the left side of the background, you can see someone standing up blocking the path of light. Next, we get a quote from Boobie that says, "The club money pay for the studio and the drug money pay for it all." And we get this video that provides absolutely zero new info or insights, so let's just move on to the next screenshot. Here we see Boobie outside of his club, Jack of Hearts, alongside Dre'Quan, who we'll get a character bio from later on the website. And one of the only things that's present in this screenshot that I haven't really seen in any of the other ones is the scratches on this car. At the center of the screenshot, we can see a bouncer at the front of the strip club, and then over on the right side we see two NPCs interacting with each other. The next screenshot sees us back in the club with Boobie in center frame, and believe it or not, the first thing that grabbed my attention in this screenshot was the guy on the far right here. This guy is wearing the same shirt that this guy is wearing in this screenshot from earlier. And it should be noted that Young Ancestor is a rapper from GTA Online's Diamond Casino heist played by Danny Brown. Who knows if this is the same guy or if it even matters. The guy on the bike is too far away to get enough details, and then we can't even see the face of the guy in the club anyway, so there's just no way to know if these two are the same people. They both seem to be wearing chains, but still no conclusive evidence that they're the same people. And then we get this little bit of text in off Boobie's section on the website. Top quality cuts. Boobie might seem like he's just out for himself, but it's his partnership with the young aspiring music mogul Dre'Quan for Only Raw Records that he's most invested in. Now they just need a hit. And I'm actually pretty excited about this. I imagine this is going to just be a minor side story that's going on while we play as Jason and Lucia, but it would be cool if we're able to follow along with Boobie and Dre'Quan's mission to score a big hit. And based on some of the characters we get introduced to later on the website, I think that's going to be likely. Now we have our next location, the Leonida Keys. The video in the postcard gives us a great view of the Keys, and once again I am blown away by how expansive this map seems like it's going to be. Way off in the distance we can see Vice City. And this seems comparable to the distance between Los Santos and Sandy Shores in GTA 5, if not longer than that. And speaking of comparisons to GTA 5's map, or I guess contrasts, I'm pretty excited by how many different routes we're likely going to be able to take from city to city. We can already see at least two ways in and out of the Keys here. And then you have the water to travel over via boat or jet ski. For the last month or so, I've regularly daydreamed about riding a jet ski around this map, and I recently got recommended a video in my feed where a guy rides a jet ski from Miami to the end of the Florida Keys, and ever since then, I've been looking forward to getting to do that in GTA 6. Anyway, back to the analysis. We have this text introducing us to the Keys. Gateway to paradise. The dress code is casual, the bars are loaded. Life in this tropical archipelago isn't flashy, but it's easy. Get your buzz on and pull up a deck chair, but look out. You are right on the doorstep to some of the most beautiful and dangerous waters in all of America. I mean, this is about what we should expect for a location that's based on the Florida Keys, but what is really catching my attention is the comment about it being the most dangerous waters in all of America. I mean, we kind of already knew that this was going to be the case since Jason's in the drug trade and we operate that out of Brian's Marina. But this description makes it sound like we might have the opportunity to come across some competition organically while out on the water. Or maybe they just mean that there are a lot of sharks. Our first screenshot of the Leonida Keys gives us another aerial view, this time with a better view of Vice City off in the distance. And once again, I have to say that Vice City looks like it's going to be massive. I'm also pretty excited by the idea of driving to the city and actually being able to see it get closer. I feel like that wasn't entirely possible in GTA 5, so this should be interesting. In the bottom left, we have a bunch of NPCs on this beach, but it looks like they've driven out to get their boat into the water. There also appears to be a campfire, so these NPCs are probably just hanging out here at the beach. In the waters, we can see a ton of different vehicles from cargo ships to speedboats to jet skis. We can see a radio tower off in the distance, and I'm pretty sure it's the same one from the opening shot of trailer 1, so that means that the prison is likely in the same area. Also, the clouds look incredible. In the next screenshot, there's an iguana crossing the road. So looks like we're going to be seeing a lot of wildlife just casually roaming around in this part of the map. And then in the center we can see a woman riding a mobility scooter, and her basket's got a milkshake and then some other food in it with the Marbles brand on it, which is a new brand in the GTA universe. And also I'm looking forward to riding one of these scooters around while waving a gun at people. Down in the bottom right corner you can make out individual rocks and pebbles on the ground, which is just another small detail that makes the environment feel real. And off to the side we can see a tour bus, or maybe just a local transport option for old people. And in the background on the right, there's what looks like a little shop selling lawn ornaments. There are also 3 billboards in this shot, and none of them seem all that funny, which is kind of surprising for GTA. There's a woman taking a selfie with 2 men, and it makes me wonder if we'll be able to photobomb or interrupt NPCs while they're taking selfies. Maybe they'll even get mad at you for it. And nearby, there's a man snapping a photo of 2 guys standing on top of this giant whale statue. According to the sign, that whale is known as the Wonder Whale. Finally, there's an NPC riding a bike with his flip-flops tucked under the pedals. Some people on the GTA 6 subreddit were saying that this is a bug, but I really don't think it is. I mean, people do this in real life, and even if it was a bug, Rockstar wouldn't be putting this in an official screenshot. I mean, do we really think that this screenshot was just, no one saw this? No one caught this bug? If it is a bug. And I also love that he's got a dog walking alongside him while he rides. Our next screenshot shows us the outside of Rusty Anchor Bar, and we can see a guy passed out at the table with several empty bottles, and we have a couple kissing on the far left. This one NPC over here looks like he is peeing into the bush, but I can't really tell. And this NPC that is walking up to the entrance of the bar seems to be waving at this man who is waving back, which is another indication that NPC interactivity is going to be greatly improved. You can also see her flip-flops staying on the ground as her foot lifts up, which makes it even more realistic. If we look over at the railing at the bar, we can see that there's a bottle sitting there, and this makes me think that dynamic environment interactivity with both NPCs and while playing as Jason and Lucia is an option. I just think that it's interesting that it seems like NPCs are going to be able to interact with the environment more. Even the small things like seeing an NPC place a bottle on a railing or on a table will make the world feel just a little bit more alive. And then if we look over here, this woman with the iguana on her shoulder is the same person from the bar screenshot from earlier. And the iguana is once again wearing a shirt. And I guess that means that this is actually her pet. If we look over here on the right, we can see this NPC's arm and the veins are just popping out of it. This guy also looks like he might be about to barf. If we look up at the top, we can see a bird perched on top of the Rusty Anchor Bar sign, and this is also not the first time that we've seen birds interact with the environment like this. And then if we look down at the bottom, the final thing that I want to point out is this banner advertising the Crab Festival. I'm wondering if this is more indication that specialized events will take place over certain time periods. If you remember the nightclub scenes where we saw those banners advertising like Sinful Sundays and all that other stuff, it seems like the days of the week might actually mean something in the game. This next screenshot gives us a look at what the underwater scenes will look like in GTA 6, and this is a massive upgrade from the underwater visuals in GTA 5. And to be honest, the visuals in GTA 5 still look great when you go underwater. But I will say that it seems like that this might be a little bit too overpopulated. Now, I've never been scuba diving myself, but I feel like if you saw this amount of life when you went scuba diving, I mean, that you would be incredibly lucky. I mean, we just have a ton of different species down here. We've got eels, turtles, and just a wide variety of fish species. Also, seeing the scuba divers here makes me think that this will be a side activity. But I mean, we had this in GTA 5, but maybe in GTA 6 it's going to actually be a little bit more guided, like maybe we have a scuba diving guide that'll show us around. We also have lots of coral and fauna here, and the sunlight looks absolutely incredible. Our next screenshot shows us a scene of boat parties, and in the bottom left there's a man on an inflatable flamingo floating tube. And if we look right above that, we can see a woman hopping from one boat to another. On the bottom right, we can see 2 women sunbathing on this boat, and we see some beer cans lined up against the edge of the boat, and the one on its side appears to be dented. The women in this boat are dancing, and this boat, and this one too. And I think that this bridge is the same one from this screenshot, which could mean that this scene is taking place around this spot. We can also see a lot of different boats visible in this screenshot, and the jet skis that we can see here produce a realistic wake in the water as they drive off. And that is the end of the screenshots for the Leonida Keys, so it's time to move on to the next character bio. Next up we have Dre'Quan Priest. Only raw records. Dre'Quan was always more of a hustler than a gangster. Even when he was dealing on the streets to make ends meet, breaking into music was the goal. Now this bio is actually pretty exciting to me. One of my favorite side characters in San Andreas was OG Loke, mostly because I thought he was funny, but I also enjoyed following his music career throughout the game. Now, it's not a one-to-one comparison here because Dre'Quan isn't an artist himself, at least it doesn't sound that way. He just seems to be the guy leading the record label, hoping to find the next big hit. But either way, it seems like the music business is going to be playing a large role in the narrative of GTA 6 based not only on Dre'Quan and Boobie, but also based on Real Dimez, a rap duo who has their own bio in just a little bit. Our first screenshot of Dre'Quan shows him with Real Dimez standing in Boobie's club, Jack of Hearts. And we know that this is in Jack of Hearts based on the banner in the background. And I don't really have a whole lot to say about this screenshot that I haven't already said earlier, but the mesh on Baylux's clothing and Roxy's clothing looks pretty good. Our next screenshot shows Dre'Quan standing around by a pool, and the lighting in the pool looks incredible. All of the NPCs that we can see seem to be doing something entirely unique. We've got one NPC posed next to the pool, one resting on the pool deck, a few NPCs standing in the water talking to each other, and one NPC is walking into the pool. In the background, you can see more NPCs taking a selfie while sitting down on this bench. And then if we look at Dre'Quan's suit sleeve, we can see that it's going over his watch, which makes me wonder if they have fixed the clipping issues that clothing typically has in video games. We then get a short video of Dre'Quan walking through the recording studio with Real Dimez walking with him. In this video, Dre'Quan is wearing a jersey for the Manatees, which was something I meant to talk about in the trailer 2 video, but I just kind of forgot. And it seems like the Manatees are an obvious parody of the Miami Dolphins. We then get this text. Dancers are like my A&Rs. If the record's a hit, DJ's gonna be spinning it. And once again, I don't really have anything to say about this. I can't find anything valuable to extract here. Our next screenshot shows Dre'Quan in the studio, and the first thing that my eyes went to was the smoke in here because the lighting is incredible. And Dre'Quan is once again wearing the Manatees jersey, and I feel like this time we get a better look at the detail on this jersey. We can also see the Only Raw Records logo on the desk, so it seems like this studio is owned by the record company. We can also see a DAW opened up on the screen, and we've got a mixing console here on the table. Our next screenshot shows Dre'Quan at the club yet again. I'm starting to think that Dre'Quan likes being at the club. But this is another case where I just don't really have a lot to say that I haven't said already, so I mean, you know, the way that the light reflects off of his necklace and the gold jewelry here on his wrist, I mean, it looks great. I don't know. That's about it. And below that screenshot, we have one final set of text for Dre'Quan. You're with the label now. Now that he's signed the Real Dimez, Dre'Quan's days of booking acts into Boobie's strip club might be numbered as he sets his sights on the Vice City scene. So it seems like Dre'Quan got his start in the music industry pretty much through Boobie by booking music acts at the strip club. And now it seems like he's ready to move on and find more success elsewhere. I could see this being the beginning of a rift between Boobie and Dre'Quan. Like maybe Boobie is not ready to move on, but Dre'Quan is. And now we move on to our next location, the Grassrivers. The postcard video we get for the Grassrivers shows an airboat driving down the river with this beautiful sunset off in the distance. And similarly to the previous postcard videos, we actually get a good view of what's off in the distance. And I mean, the Grassrivers just seem to go on and on and on. We're likely facing towards the south on the map here, so what we're seeing all the way off in the distance is likely the ocean. But if we look all the way on the right side of the postcard, we can see the Grassrivers kind of just keep going that way. And in the sky, we can see a variety of different birds, and while I can't really make out what the specific birds are, we can see that they vary in size, indicating that it's likely that we'll get a very diverse ecosystem here in the grasslands. And we also get the following text for the grasslands. Welcome to the wetlands, the untamable jewel of Leonida's crown. You never know what lies beneath the surface of this primordial expanse. The gators may be the most famous attraction, but there are far deadlier predators and weirder discoveries among the mangroves. Now, this seems very similar to the text we got for the Leonida Keys, talking about how there's more danger than it seems. And I guess this is kind of just the same thing, right? I mean, there's probably a bunch of drug smugglers in this area, and probably a bunch of freaks that we can run into. In our first screenshot for the grasslands, we see 3 NPCs on an airboat after what appears to be a very successful hunting trip. They've got this massive alligator, or maybe it's a crocodile. I honestly still am not sure what the difference is. And they also have a bobcat. On this boat, we can see several beer bottles, and then if we look in the background, we can see these 2 beer bottles hanging out on this railing. Another sign that we'll probably be able to see NPCs interact with the environment. If we look towards the middle at this building, we can also see a Patriot beer banner hanging up. I think it's safe to say that these guys love beer. And if we look at the woman in the middle, we can see a tattoo on her chest that says masturbator. And all three of these NPCs are completely covered in mud. And I unfortunately can't provide any important insight into the guns that these NPCs have because I just am not knowledgeable on that, so sorry if you were looking forward to hearing something about the guns. On the right side on the boat, we see something covered in plastic wrap, and I'm honestly not 100% certain what this is, but I mean, let's be honest, it's probably drugs. And the final detail for this screenshot is this airplane that's in the middle right at the top here. And this plane seems like it's either really far off in the distance or really high up in the sky. Because this thing looks kind of tiny in comparison to what we would see in GTA 5, at least that's what I feel like. Or maybe it's just the case that you wouldn't really see airplanes taking off this far off in the distance in GTA 5. Our next screenshot has an insane amount of detail going on, so let's go ahead and dive in on the far left here. Now we have what appears to be a restaurant here, and it looks like there's an interior here. And it isn't just like a parallax thing, this seems to be a fully decorated interior. Now the question remains as to whether or not we can actually enter it, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. And right outside of that building, we have an NPC hanging out on the railing here by himself. And then if we look down below that, we can see a bunch of seagulls perched on these wooden poles. A sign that not just NPCs are going to be interacting with the environment, but also animals as well. To the right, we can see a bunch of ducks in the water. And then if we look directly up from that, we can see an NPC leaning on this wall outside of this lobster restaurant. And moving our attention towards the center of the screen, we have this restaurant that is absolutely packed with NPCs out here. It looks like some NPCs on the lower level are dancing, and then if we look on the top level, we can see NPCs sitting at this table, one NPC sitting on a bar stool, and another leaning on the railing. Moving to the right, we have an NPC that is up for debate, as a lot of people think that this is a child NPC, but I just don't think that's likely, because if there were children in GTA 6, I think we would have seen more of them in other screenshots. It would be very strange if there was just, one child in one screenshot only, considering how many NPCs we've been able to see in all of these screenshots and the two trailers. Right below that, we can see a boat with two NPCs fishing, and then this guy just looks like he would rather be at home. If you can zoom in close enough onto this NPC, you can actually see that he's wearing a t-shirt that says, "I paused my game to be here." And if we go back over to the left towards the middle, we can see this sign for that interior that I was talking about earlier, and I flipped it and I couldn't quite make out what it says. It says something house. Probably the name of this restaurant. Let me know in the comments if you can make out what this says. It looks like this might be a B and maybe this is a U, so maybe Bu House? I don't know. Or maybe it's an R, Rue House. Across this canal, it seems like we have a bunch of residential area. And then if we look up at this water tower, we can see that it says Watson Bay on it. So this is probably the name of the area or the town. Way off in the distance, we can see Vice City. And I'm pretty sure that this is the same radio tower that we've seen in several other screenshots and in trailer 1. And if that's the case, could this possibly be the prison? Over on the far right, we can see some sort of factory off in the distance. And then if we look at the clouds, we can see that there is some sort of dynamic weather system happening right here, because on the far left, it looks a lot more cloudy and maybe like it's even raining, but then if we take a look on the right, it just looks cloudy. The next screenshot is probably one of my absolute favorites from all of the screenshots we've seen so far, at least. The water and the lily pads in the water just look absolutely fantastic in my opinion. I remember the first time I saw lily pads in the Bayou in Red Dead Redemption 2 and I thought that it looked incredible, but this looks even better somehow. And if we look closer in the water, we can see that the airboat is actually completely surrounded by alligators here. And it looks like this one in the front is about to get its brains blown out by this guy. And if we actually look in the airboat, we can see a lot of added details that makes us feel a little bit more alive. Like there's this bucket full of what I assume is bait. We've got this paper bag sitting here. We've got a cooler. We've got this net, and we have what appears to be a flashlight. Our final screenshot for the Grassrivers shows us a police chase. And based on what we're seeing here, I'm guessing that these guys are wanted for illegal poaching. But if we keep our attention on this truck, I'd like to point out that you can see that the windshield wipers have been used. So I'm wondering if this is going to be something that we can use while we're playing as Jason or Lucia. We can see a couple alligators over on the right, and then if we look a little bit above that, we can see some birds, and these are probably herons. I'm not that good at identifying birds, so I might be wrong here. In addition to the two police cars we have chasing this guy, we also have a helicopter up in the sky, and then we have an airboat all the way in the back, which I'm assuming is not a police airboat. And then if we look over to the left, we have some more animals that I am honestly having a hard time IDing. Like I don't know what this is. It might be a deer, but I don't know why a deer would be here. And then if we look down from that guy, we've got these two animals swimming or maybe they're rocks. I actually don't know what they are. Are they beavers? Maybe they're otters? I genuinely have no idea, but if you guys know, let me know in the comments. And then one final detail, if we turn our attention back to the truck, we can see this window reflecting what is over on the right. And now we have our next character bio, this time for Real Dimez. Their text says, viral videos, viral hooks. Bay Lux and Roxy, aka Real Dimez, have been friends since high school. Girls with the savvy to turn their time shaking down local dealers into cold, hard cash via spicy rap tracks and relentless social media presence. And we've actually seen quite a lot of Real Dimez throughout these screenshots so far, and they also made an appearance in Trailer 1. Although if we go back and look at their appearance in Trailer 1, they look a lot different now. I think that these two characters got the biggest upgrade out of anyone from Trailer 1 to Trailer 2. Or I guess from Trailer 1 to what we're getting here. In the first screenshot, we see Bay Lux sitting in a chair near the mixing console. On the left, we can see this lava lamp illuminating just the area in its general vicinity, including this fan. Bay Lux is wearing a necklace with a BL on it for her name, Bay Lux. We can see that the wall is all scuffed up, meaning that this probably isn't the nicest studio in the world. And then finally, if we look at Bay Lux's nails, we can see that they're somewhat translucent and light can pass through them. Our next screenshot shows Roxy sitting in a car with Dre'Quan to her left. Roxy, just like Bay Lux, has her own unique necklace that displays her name right on it. And then if we zoom in on Roxy's fur coat, we can see how detailed it is, and even on the top right, we can see that it's a different color and it kind of just blends in seamlessly. And in this area, we can see where Roxy's hair begins and where the fur coat ends. For the most part, I think this looks fine. It does look a little weird here, but you know, there's still a year until the game comes out, so I'm sure they'll fix it. I'd also like to point out just how detailed this car is, because if you look in the interior, you can see how detailed the leather is. Going back to Roxy, we can see the light reflecting off of her lipstick very realistically. And in the passenger seat, we have Dre'Quan, who's wearing a beanie over his hair. Now obviously this is just a screenshot, so you know, we can't see motion, but hopefully this isn't going to be a clipping issue. After that screenshot, we get this video of Real Dimez in the club dancing. And once again, there's not a whole lot for me to point out here that I haven't already said. I mean, the hair looks great, the hair physics look great, the lighting looks great, and just the way these two are moving looks very natural and realistic. And we get another quote here, and it's becoming very apparent to me that I'm not going to be able to get a lot of information out of basically any of these, but just for completionist's sake, I'm going to still read you off the quote here. All my dimes in this club, meet my twin, make it a dub. Our next screenshot of Real Dimez shows them standing on top of a car, which is very reminiscent to the shot that we saw of them doing this in Trailer 1. Although, let's be clear, this is not the same location. We can see the Jack of Hearts Club in the background, and that is just not there in the Trailer 1 video of them doing this. In the bottom left, we can see someone on their phone, and it looks like they've just shot this video of them because, I mean, their phone is not up, so it's clear that this is not them taking the video now. But it's still pretty cool that we can see what the NPCs have recorded and what is on their screen. It makes me wonder if NPCs can just walk around and film stuff and we can actually see what they filmed on their phone screen. Like maybe NPCs will film us committing crimes and then we have to actually, you know, take their phone from them. Or maybe take their life if we don't want to get caught. And similarly, all the way on the right side, we can see an NPC with their phone in their hand and it's just on their lock screen. And then if we look a little bit up towards the left here, we can see this NPC with some jewelry on their hand. And this is just another sign showing that NPCs in this game are going to feel very much alive and like they all have their own unique style and identity. I'm sure that NPCs in GTA 5 had stuff like bracelets on or different jewelry, but I don't know, this just feels a lot more unique. Like look at all the rings they have on both of their hands. I mean, we'll have to wait and see when the game comes out whether or not this is a copy and paste thing, but I think that with a lot of Rockstar's patents that they've filed over the last couple years, it's kind of pointing towards NPCs all having their unique style. Like, I think it's going to be less likely than ever that we see copy and pasted NPCs in GTA 6. And the same can be said about the tattoos that we've seen on NPCs as well, because if we look down on the bottom right again, this NPC has a tattoo on their leg. And I don't know how important of an observation this is, but Bay Lux and Roxy are wearing the exact same outfits that they're wearing in the video we just saw. And then if we look at the key art for them that they have next to their main bio thing, they're wearing pretty similar outfits here as well. It's not the exact same outfit because Roxy's code is like a green, and it's not a green in the screenshot, but Bay Lux's outfit looks basically identical. And in our final screenshot for the Real Dimez, we get something that unfortunately doesn't have a whole lot of new information in yet again. I guess guess this isn't exactly new because I probably could have pointed this out in the previous screenshots, but Roxy has a tattoo above her left eyebrow that looks like it says blessed. We can also see that Roxy's nails are translucent as light passes through them. And I guess I'll point out that they are in fact in a recording studio, but that shouldn't be surprising to us considering we already know that they are recording artists. They make music. And I guess the last thing that I'll point out here is that if you look far enough into the back of Baylux's mouth, you can actually see her uvula. And then to round things off for Real Dimes, we have one more little set of text. One hit away from fame. An early hit single with local rapper Downplay took Real Dimes to new heights. Now after 5 years and a whole lot of trouble, they're signed to Only Raw Records, hoping lightning can strike twice. So Real Dimes has already found some success, but it sounds like the last 5 years since that success have not been the greatest for Real Dimes. This could mean a couple different things, like maybe they've just been having a hard time getting new music out, or maybe they've actually been involved in some less favorable situations. Maybe they've been doing some crime, I don't know. Either way, it sounds like these two have nothing left to lose and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get their names back out there. And now we have our next location, Port Gellhorn. Our postcard video for Port Gellhorn gives us an aerial view over this part of the town. In it, we can see the metro moving down the line, a juice and fruit stand off on the right side, an old trailer on the left, and a parking lot, and then we have a water tower over in the middle left. But the general sense that we're getting from this shot is that Port Gellhorn is kind of a forgotten wasteland, and it appears that it's mostly used as a manufacturing city now. We can see a bunch of factories off in the distance, and then a little bit towards the left we can see some cranes at a port. And then we have the text for Port Gellhorn that says, "Live hard. This is Leonida's forgotten coast. Cheap motels, shut down attractions, and empty strip malls won't bring the tourists back. But there's a new economy in this once popular vacation spot. It's fueled by malt liquor, painkillers, and truck stop energy drinks. Jump on a dirt bike and hold on to your wallet." So it's pretty evident that if there's any place that you want to steer clear of in Leonida, it's going to be Port Gellhorn. Now, when I was trying to figure out what Port Gellhorn was based on from Florida, it seems like everyone has come to the consensus that it's based on Panama City. And honestly, this is kind of confusing for me. I've been to Panama City multiple times in my life, and I've never gotten the impression that it was some sort of rundown wasteland like they're describing here. But according to the Port Gellhorn page on the GTA Wiki, the GTA 6 mapping project has identified over 20 buildings from Port Gellhorn that are believed to be modeled after those in the Panama City, Florida area. So it seems like it's more so that Port Gellhorn is using buildings from Panama City rather than Panama City being accurately represented in Port Gellhorn. But in general, it seems like Port Gellhorn is going to serve pretty much the same role that Sandy Shores served in GTA 5. But hopefully Port Gellhorn is going to have a lot more reasons to visit than Sandy Shores did. And now we have our first screenshot for Port Gellhorn right outside of this motel. And if you're familiar at all with the leaks from 2022, then this pool should look very familiar to you. We also got a shot of this motel in one scene from trailer 2, the one in which Jason was shoving some guy into the side of a car. And based on my very quick and not very thorough look at this, I think that the trailer shot that we see of Jason shoving the guy into the car is taking place about right here in the screenshot. So this is almost a complete opposite view of what we got in the trailer of the motel. And if we take our attention to the motel itself, it looks like we can see through the windows and into a physical, real interior, which is probably the lobby for the motel, if I had to guess. Over on the left, we can see some trash bags sitting out, and then we've got this guy taking a photo of this dog. And then further on the left, we have this NPC talking to someone in the truck. Probably a drug deal, if I had to guess. And then a little bit to the left, we can see this NPC sitting out on one of the pool chairs. Our next screenshot shows us two NPCs inside of a cannabis cultivation site. And each of these NPCs have unique scarring and textures along with the tattoos they also have. In the bottom right, we can see a whiteboard with a bunch of stuff written on it, likely the schedule for the place. I don't know, that's my best guess. And then once again, I have to point out how good the lighting looks in here. Our next screenshot shows a drug deal going down between two NPCs. We can once again see how detailed the NPCs in this game are going to be, with this guy on the right having tattoos not only just on his arm but also on his neck. His neck tattoo appears to be of some kind of goblin creature, which is it's pretty cool. And the NPC on the left has very detailed skin texture. You can see her pores on her forehead very clearly. And off in the background, out of focus, you can see what's probably some sort of security guard. And not that that matters at all, because it's not like this is a part of of the story or anything. This is probably just like some random event thing, or maybe something that they set up specifically to get a screenshot. Our next screenshot sees us outside a strip club called Delights. On the right side of the screenshot, we can see the sign for the club, and it looks pretty incredible, honestly. The lighting from the neon looks absolutely fantastic, and even the lettering on the sign below looks great. And to the right of the sign, we can see two homeless NPCs walking around. You've got the one on the far right pushing a shopping cart full of miscellaneous items, and then we've got the other one on the left that looks like she's likely on something. And if we turn our attention to the front of the club, we can see an NPC getting thrown out by a security guard. We have another guy who looks like he might be a security guard or probably just a patron of this place. And then to the left of him, we have two NPCs who look like they're probably dancers inside the club. All the way on the right side of the club, we see two NPCs talking to each other, and the one on the left looks like he's probably lighting up a cigarette or something. And these two NPCs are being illuminated by the headlights of this truck over here. And then if we look up from these two NPCs here, we can see this shopping cart in the front yard of this house, which makes me think that this whole area is just kind of like one of those rundown places that you don't really want to spend too much time in. But it seems like Rockstar is pushing that direction for the entirety of Port Gellhorn and not just the vicinity of this strip club. And our final screenshot for Port Gellhorn shows us a bunch of NPCs outside doing various activities. Obviously, right up front and center, we've got these two NPCs being quite intimate on the hood of this truck. And if we zoom in on the beer bottle, we can see bubbles in there. And then on the left, we can see sweat dripping down his arm. On the right side, we see a bunch of NPCs standing and sitting around a campfire. And I think that the craziest detail here is the way that the fire heat distorts the image behind it. And below the fire, we see a cooler with a bunch of beer bottles in it, and more importantly, a bunch of beer bottles and cans outside of it. Looking back to the NPCs around the campfire, this one NPC on the right is on her phone, and then on the left side, we can see one NPC carrying a pallet. And notably, this NPC has a beer bottle in his other hand, meaning that NPCs are going to be able to do two things at once. Or at the very least, they're going to be able to carry two things at once. And the NPC right next to him has visible sweat stains on his tank top. And on the left side of the screenshot, we can see three NPCs hanging out in the back of this truck bed. And then right above that, we see this lamppost with moths flying around it. Now we have our next character bio for Raul Bautista. Experience counts. Confidence, charm, and cunning. Raul's a seasoned bank robber always on the hunt for talent, ready to take the risks that bring the biggest rewards. Raul seems like the kind of guy that's going to be serving as the leader in bigger heists. He's got the experience, so it seems likely that that's how we're going to come into contact with him in the game. Jason and Lucia are ready to do something big, and they go to Raul to do it. Our first screenshot of Raul shows him I don't know where the hell he is actually. I guess he's maybe in like a secret lair. Anyway, Raul's on the phone here, and in the background we've got this silhouetted secret figure on the computer, probably hacking into the IAA. I don't know, I just kind of think that Raul's going to be the guy that can do whatever he wants, and he can do anything, nothing's impossible, kind of like Lester in GTA 5. But because this is just an exclusive close-up of Raul, we don't really have a whole lot of new information to get in this screenshot. Like, the entire background is completely out of focus. I guess I could say that Raul's facial hair looks great here, but other than that, that's basically all I can get from this screenshot. Our next screenshot sees Raul on a boat in what I'm assuming is Vice City. Like, I'm like 99% confident that this is Vice City in the background here. In the bottom left of the screenshot, we can see just how detailed the boat is. I mean, look at these buttons on the far left. I'm pretty sure that this is all legible text that we can see here. And the same can be said about this kind of control panel here. I'm not familiar with boats, so I don't know if that's the correct terminology here. The chair also looks really great here. We can see what I think is kind of just a defect in the armrest here, or maybe that's a part of the intentional design of the chair, I don't know. To the right of Raul, we have this little thing. I honestly have no idea what this is. I even plugged it into ChatGPT and it kept telling me that it was like a utility bucket for a mop, which it very clearly is not. That thing is not going to be big enough to hold a mop, but what it actually is doesn't really matter. I mean, the more important thing here is that we have the Cuban flag on the side of it, meaning that Raul is most likely Cuban. Now, early in the rumors for GTA 6, people were speculating that GTA 6 was going to encompass not only North America, but South America as well, including Cuba. So maybe Raul was left over from that planning stage when GTA 6 was initially going to be encompassing more than just North America. And the final detail that I'm going to point out in the screenshot is this drawbridge off in the distance. All I'll say is that I can't wait to do some jumps over this thing. Next up, we have a video of Raul outside exchanging gunfire with police. And in this screenshot, we can also see Lucia. And this guy might be Jason, but I'm not 100% certain. The first thing that I'll point out, and this is something that I already saw on Reddit, so this isn't an original idea, but the way that Raul is caressing the car as he walks over, it just looks incredible. I don't think that any NPCs have ever done this before in a previous GTA game, but I definitely remember seeing them testing this out with NPCs in the leaks from 2022. So it's cool to finally see how it's getting implemented in the game. Also, if we catch this one frame right at the beginning, Lucia looks genuinely shocked at what's happening. And it's just really cool to see a wider range of emotions on all characters. And if we look towards the beginning of this video, we can see some glass exploding off to the side, probably from some of the gunfire. Now, it's likely that this scene is happening right after the scene we saw in trailer 2 of Jason and Lucia robbing that bank, but it also seems like wherever this is taking place is happening right outside what looks like a government building based on these flags. And I guess just the general architectural design of this building, it just kind of looks like a government building to me. And towards the end of the clip, if we look in the far left back, it seems like one of the cars is on fire, or at the very least, there's just a fire happening back there. And next to this video, we have a quote from Raul that says, "Life is full of surprises, my friend. I think we'd all be wise to remember that." Very epic quote. I don't have anything to say about it. I think it's a great quote. I love it. I'm a huge fan of Raul's quote. Our next screenshot shows Raul in the car driving. Raul's got gloves on and he's got a gun in his hand, which makes me think that he's either just committed a crime or he's about to. If we take a look at this car's dashboard, we can see that it has a touchscreen, which is pretty much universal in cars these days. Now, back in 2013 when GTA 5 first released, it wasn't out of the ordinary for a car to come equipped with a touchscreen. But these days, when you're purchasing a new car, it's almost expected that you get a touchscreen. So with the addition of more touchscreens in the game, it wouldn't surprise me if we also saw some of the implementations of the entertainment systems in these cars with the touchscreens. Like maybe if you're driving the Tesla equivalent in GTA 6, you can play Flappy Bird on your car's touchscreen or something stupid like that. Or also maybe if you're driving the Tesla equivalent in game, your car will just randomly explode, just like it does in real life. Disclaimer for legal reasons, that was a joke. Teslas don't explode, they never do. Teslas are the most safe vehicle. Put your entire family in a Tesla. Go for a road trip, you won't die, it's guaranteed. 100% guarantee you'll never die if you own a Tesla. And over on the far right of the screenshot, we can see a billboard that's just barely visible, and it looks like there's a skull on this. I mean, it's kind of hard to make out, but who knows what this is actually advertising. We'll just have to wait and find out, I suppose. And the final detail I'm going to point out in this screenshot is this airbag warning that's on the sun visor on the top. I kind of doubt that airbags are going to actually be employed in the game, like when you get in a car accident, but I don't know, maybe they're going to make that change happen. I think at the very least it would be cool to see NPCs airbags go off when you crash into them, but I could see it being more of an inconvenience than anything else if it happens to you as you're playing the game. And now we're at our final screenshot for Raul. It seems like Raul is probably on Ocean Drive here. This seems to be one of the many hotels and the bars that they have outside on the sidewalk. In fact, these trees behind him with the glowing lights might actually be the same ones as these that we saw in a screenshot earlier. Over on the left in the bar, we can see two TVs, and we actually have a good view of one of them, and it seems that the screen is on and displaying something. Now, based on the one TV we got to see in trailer 2 at the bar, it seems like most of the TVs out and about are going to actually be displaying TV shows or advertisements. And I'm actually pretty excited about this because it's just yet another small thing that's going to help make the world feel more alive. And I'm pretty sure that this woman standing over here is the hostess for the bar or restaurant. Now, of course, I don't know if this has any implications on the mechanics within the game, like are we going to actually be able to go up to this hostess and get a table at the restaurant? It's probably unlikely, but once again, it's just the small details that add up to make the world feel that much more alive. And then one final detail for this screenshot, I don't know, I just think that the foliage right here looks pretty great. And then we get one final set of text to round off Raul's section on the website. A professional adapts. Raul's recklessness raises the stakes with every score. Sooner or later, his crew will have to double down or pull their chips from the table. Based on everything we know about Raul now, it kind of just seems like he's in it for the thrill of it at this point. Like he's been in the game for so long, he's very experienced, but evidently he doesn't really care about not being reckless. But it's also clear that he has a reputation, and if he had a reputation that was negative, his recklessness would have caught up to him by now. And now we have our next location, Ambrosia. The postcard video we get for Ambrosia shows us an aerial view over a factory, and more specifically this is a sugar factory. Now Ambrosia is based on the city of Clewiston in Florida, which is known for its sugar industry. Now first of all, this factory seems to be absolutely massive. I mean, at least to me, it seems like it takes up about as much space as the industrial area in Los Santos did, but it seems like this one factory is owned by a single company. If we look on the right, we can see Allied Crystal on this building here, and then on the far left, this is very obviously also saying Allied Crystal, but the Allied is is cut off on the left. And then I'd also like to focus on some of the cars in the parking lot, specifically this one in the bottom right. We can see that it's got its headlights on and it's just kind of idling there. So I guess this is just something that NPCs are going to do. They're going to idle in parking lots, which is, you know, realistic. People do that. And then we've got another car in the far left doing the exact same thing, except it doesn't have its headlights on. And then if we look in the background on the right side, it looks like we have some variation in terrain. This appears to be a hill in the background, and this would track with where Ambrosia is being placed on the mapping project at the moment. It's incredibly likely that the hill that we're seeing in the background here is the beginning of that increase in terrain variation towards Mount Kalaga up north. And then we get this text for Ambrosia: keeping Leonida sweet. The battle for the health and wealth of Leonida begins here. In the heart of Leonida, America industry and old school values still reign supreme, whatever the cost. The Allied Crystal Sugar Refinery provides the jobs, while the local biker gang provides almost everything else. So obviously the sugar industry is the dominant industry in Ambrosia, but then we have that text about the local biker gang providing almost everything else. My first thought was that maybe this meant that the biker gang was basically running the city, like they had a ton of power and influence in politics and the government, but I think the more likely answer is that they just provide a lot of drugs to the city. And if there's going to be any city on the map that has a strong influence from meth, it would make more sense than anything for it to be in the city where the Allied Crystal Sugar Refinery is. Our first screenshot for Ambrosia shows the biker gang that we just learned about driving down the street. And we also learned that this biker gang is called the Final Chapter. It's also here that we get a great view of all the different variations of the Leonida license plates. This one's got a flamingo on it, this one's got an orange, and then we've got a couple that are just orange itself. Over on the left side of the road in the grass, we've got a bunch of campaign signs, and it seems like the favorite in this campaign is Aaron Hinshaw, because that seems to be the only sign over here, except for a couple that I can't really make out. There's this one sign that ends in VER, but I honestly can't make out what the full name is. I think the first letter here is a K, so maybe it's like Kever or Cover. We can also see that the Allied Crystal Company has their logo on Aaron Hinshaw's campaign signs, which seems to indicate that Aaron Hinshaw is going to be governing more on behalf of the Allied Crystal Company than anyone else. Aaron Hinshaw also has a banner hanging up on this gas station on the right side of the screenshot. And if we look over on the side of the street, we can see a bunch of debris and leaves. At the top of the screenshot in the middle, we can see a billboard that indicates that Rockstar's humor is just the same as it always has been. The billboard is advertising for Tiny Frank, which seems to be a parody of Little Debbie's. And the text on the billboard reads, "Proud allies of diversity in treats," which seems to be making fun of the language that companies often use during like Pride Month and stuff, when you know that they really don't care, they're only doing it just for the profits. And then if we zoom out from the billboard, we can see what appears to be a giant hill in the background, which makes me think that the terrain variation is going to be a lot more diverse in this game than we previously thought. And then on the right side of the street, we can see that we've got a lot of different businesses and gas stations and a lot of signs here that we can't really make out. Our next screenshot gives us an aerial view of Ambrosia at nighttime. And while it's clear that this city is not going to be as big as Vice City, I think it's pretty likely that this is going to be bigger than Paleto Bay or Sandy Shores from GTA 5. Starting in the bottom right of the screenshot, we can see a truck driving away with a boat in tow, and then we've got an airboat on the water, another boat in the water over here, and then over on the right side, this sign jumped out to me immediately because it looks exactly like a Waffle House sign. The sign probably says Hank's Waffles because that's what the name of the place was in the leaks, but obviously they could have changed it since then and we just won't know until the game comes out, or we can see it in a different trailer or screenshot. If we look a little bit further down from the Waffle House sign, we've got this area that's really lit up well, and I'm pretty sure that this is some sort of racetrack, because if we look on the other side, we can see here what appears to be like stands for audience viewing, and this is also just the right shape for it to be a racetrack, so I think that's what it is. Further to the left, we can see the Allied Crystal Company factory that we saw in the opening postcard video, and then further to the left, we can see that the city just keeps sprawling out in the distance. Our next screenshot is a close-up of two bikers. The biker in the front is wearing a hat that says Liberty City Cycles on it, which is yet another reference to Liberty City. We already got the information from Lucia's little bio about coming from Liberty City, but it seems like Liberty City keeps popping up. The female NPC holding the gun is also displaying trigger discipline, and she's got tattoos on her hand and this finger. Looking closer at the man's face, the detail in his beard looks incredible, and also his skin looks very realistic. Looking at the woman's face, she's got a nose ring, which is yet another variable that we can see change on NPC to NPC. And then finally, if we look at the patch on this guy's chest, it looks like he's from a different motorcycle club than the Final Chapter that we saw in the other screenshot. It seems like he's a part of a motorcycle club called Another Day, and this might make things interesting with two competing motorcycle clubs in the same city. And I guess the opening text didn't specify which motorcycle club it was that was running things. It could be Another Day, but it also could be Final Chapter. Who knows? Our next screenshot shows us an overview of farmland, and that farmland is on fire. Off in the distance on the right, we can see a plane flying towards the camera, and I think it's likely that this plane is a firefighting plane. Like, it's probably going to drop water on top of these fires. And also taking a closer look at the fires, the smoke that's emitting from them looks absolutely incredible. It also seems like this farmland is owned by the Allied Crystal Company, because if we look in the distance here, we can see their name printed on the side of this fence. And then off in the distance on the right side of the screenshot, we can see more evidence for the varied terrain. In our final screenshot for Ambrosia, we can see two women wearing bikinis giving this car a car wash. It's also in this screenshot that we get a better view of what the touchscreen and cars will look like. On the bottom navigation, it looks like we have a cell phone, we have Bluetooth, music, navigation, car settings, search, notifications, and then whatever this is. Over on the right side, we can see a car entering the car wash, so it seems like this is just the precursor to the real car wash. And it seems like the driver here knows the owner or whoever this is that's working at the car wash. In the car, we can see a reflection on the rear view mirror. And then the final detail from the screenshot that I want to point out is how the female NPC is leaning her arm in through the window and into the car, showing another way that the NPCs are going to be able to interact dynamically with the environment and objects. That is, unless this is a completely scripted event and not something that's just organic. And now we move on to our final character on the website, Brian Heder. His text reads, "Nothing better than a mudslide at sunset." Brian's a classic drug runner from the golden age of smuggling in the Keys, still moving product through his boatyard with his third wife, Lori. Brian's been around long enough to let others do his dirty work. So we already know that Jason is working for Brian, and it sounds like Jason's going to be one of the guys that's doing all the dirty work. But evidently, Brian is also very experienced in the drug trade, so it's likely that Jason looks to him as some sort of a mentor figure. And speaking of Jason, our first screenshot of Brian Heder features Jason and Brian in a car, and this is easily the most realistic screenshot out of any of the ones we've seen so far, at least. Brian specifically looks very realistic. Like, his arm resting on the window here looks very realistic. We once again get real-time reflections in Brian's glasses, and if we look over to Jason, we can see that he seems to be wearing a bulletproof vest. On the far left side of the screenshot, we can see this window specifically looking a lot dirtier than the rest of the car, and from what we can see in the background based on the environment, it seems like they might be in the Grassrivers. And in the next screenshot, we can see Brian handing off or exchanging this brick of probably cocaine with this person, and I'm pretty sure that this person is the same guy that we've seen in two previous screenshots. This one at the bar and then this one at the mini golf place. This person is sitting in a plane, and also I'd like to point out how detailed the stitching on Brian's shirt is. I know I've already talked about the clothing a lot in this, but I mean, there's not a whole lot else in the screenshot, so I'm going to talk about it again. Also, based on what we can see in the background, it's very clear that this is at Brian's marina, and we can even see the sign for it in the background here. And once again, Brian's sunglasses are doing real-time reflections. Below that screenshot, we see a video of Brian sitting in a chair in his marina drinking an E-Cola. And this person walking around in the background is probably his wife, Lori. And I think that this guy in the background working on something is the same guy that we just saw in the other screenshot. But I mean, he's all the way in the background, so who knows. Next to the video, we have a quote from Brian that says, "I hauled so much grass in that plane I could make the state of Leonida levitate." So, I mean, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that Brian's experienced with the drug trade at this point. Our next screenshot of Brian shows him outside at a bar leaning on a railing. In this screenshot, Brian is wearing the same shirt that he was wearing in this previous screenshot, and the shirt says, "Kenny Brewster, I got a big truck with your face on it." And if I had to make a guess, it seems like this is a t-shirt with art from like a song in universe. And Kenny Brewster is likely a parody of Jimmy Buffett. And I'm pretty sure once again we're seeing the same guy over here on the right side leaning on the railing. For someone that is appearing in a lot of screenshots, we don't really know anything about him. The texture in the wood on the railing looks incredible. And the way that this light is passing through the palm tree looks great as well. In the background, we can see NPCs interacting and doing their own thing, with this guy walking down on the pier, and then these two appear to be sharing a beer on the beach. And our final screenshot for Brian shows him outside talking to Jason with a gun in his hand. And this is likely his wife, Lori, to the left of him. To me, it seems like Brian is instructing Jason on what he needs to do, and he's about to hand him over the gun. But before he hands the gun over to him, he's probably instructing him on what he needs to do. In the background, we can see Brian's truck, and once again, we have a view of the stickers on it. And the only one that I can really make out is this one for an animal hospital. And we can even make out that it's specifically an animal hospital at Key Linto. Looking closer at Lori, we can see that she has a tattoo of a heart and Brian's name on it on her chest. It also seems like this exchange might be happening at a gas station, because all the way on the far right we can see a sign that resembles that of a gas station sign. And finally, if we look at the bottom of Brian's truck here, it's got very realistic wear and dirt on it. And below that screenshot we've got one last set of text for Brian. Looks like a Leonida beach bum, moves like a great white shark. Brian's letting Jason live rent-free at one of his properties, so long as he helps with local shakedowns and stops by for Lori Sangria once in a while. I mean, we kind of already were well aware of some of this information, like we knew that Jason was helping out with Brian's less legal activities, and in fact, that's what we see Brian requesting Jason do at the beginning of trailer 2. But we also get the note that Brian's appearance is not accurate to what he's actually doing, which might be the reason why he hasn't been caught yet. Maybe the authorities just aren't looking at him because they assume that he's just another retired old guy in Florida. And now we have arrived at our final location for this video, Mount Kalaga National Park. Our postcard video for Mount Kalaga National Park showcases some of the wildlife and also some hikers walking around through the park. In the center of the frame we can see a deer drinking from this stream, and then over to the left we can see 2 NPCs with kayaks. And then further up in the middle we can see NPCs hiking down this rocky surface. Up in the sky we see a plane flying overhead, and then further back in the distance we can see what I'm assuming is Mount Kalaga itself. And I am pretty excited about this park, and I'm hoping that this is going to be a better approach to nature than what we got in GTA 5. Something a bit more structured with maybe like nature trails and other stuff to do in the park would be interesting, and I can already see myself spending hours just dedicated to exploring this national park. The little passage of text we get for Mount Kalaga reads, "Wild, wild country, room to breathe on the state's northern fringes." A national landmark up against the state's northern border, Mount Kalaga offers prime hunting, fishing, and off-road trails. In the lush surrounding backwoods, hillbilly mystics and paranoid radicals live far from the prying eyes of the government. Now, the first thing that caught my eye was the text at the top, "Wild Wild Country." And that's because there's a docuseries on Netflix that is titled Wild Wild Country that I watched many years ago. The docuseries is about this cult that forms out west in the United States, and as any cult does, it gets insane. But obviously, this is leading me to believe that there's gonna be some cult activity in this region of the map. And it also seems like it's just flat out confirmed that we're gonna get hunting in GTA 6 in some capacity. Now, whether or not it comes with a compendium like we had in RDR 2, we'll have to wait and find out. And I mean, I suppose you could go hunting in GTA 5, like you could go out to the country and kill a deer, but that's about all you could do. I imagine they'll be carrying over at least some of the mechanics from RDR 2 that related to hunting, like skinning animals and just carrying them on your shoulder. And as we already know, Florida is a very flat state, so it's obvious that Mount Kalaga is taking inspiration from some of the states further up north. And in this case, it seems like a majority of that inspiration is coming from Georgia specifically. Like, a lot of this text here very much reminds me of the Appalachian Mountain and those communities that live out there. A lot of them are very isolated and separated from what most of the other country is doing. Like, you can go into the Appalachian Mountains today and find communities that are just completely disconnected from the rest of the world. Our first screenshot from Mount Kalaga shows us NPCs off-roading. In the bottom here, we can see how the dirt and mud reacts to the tires going through it. It looks really great. We can also see leaves and other debris getting picked up in the wind caused by the dirt bikes. And these bikers appear to be driving through what's an old and run-down industrial plant. There's a dirty raccoon climbing around on these rocks on the left side, and if I was that raccoon, I would have gotten the hell out of there a long time ago because it seems incredibly likely that this dirt bike is about to smash into him and kill him. And for the final detail in this screenshot, I'm going to loop back around to the beginning and talk about the dirt. We can see that it's sticking onto the clothes and on the NPC's skin. Now, Rockstar already demonstrated in Red Dead Redemption 2 that they've got a pretty good system in place for how mud interacts with players, and I'm curious to see if they've somehow managed to improve it and make it look even better in this game. Our next screenshot shows us a news helicopter flying over what's probably Mount Kalaga. And if we zoom in on the guy with the camera, this guy just looks like a psychopath to me. It's also likely that the area that we're seeing on the left here is to the south of the map. And in the far distance, it looks like we can see some rain clouds and rain falling down from the sky. At the bottom left of the screenshot, we can see that the road system is pretty complicated with multiple layers of traffic flowing here. Beyond that, it looks like we're dealing with more rural area and it's just open fields here. We're turning our attention back to the news helicopter. Notably, it isn't anything that we've seen before. This isn't a Weasel news helicopter, it just says news on it. So I guess it's likely that this is a completely new entity in the game. Our next screenshot shows us 2 NPCs out hunting in a forest. The vegetation here on the ground is very dense, and on the bottom right we can see this animal being covered up by some of the vegetation. And it's likely a deer that's just been shot by these guys because on the left side of the animal you can see antlers poking out. And if this animal was still alive, it really wouldn't make any sense for this thing to still be in the vicinity of these 2 NPCs. And on the right side we can see a squirrel climbing up this tree. Our next screenshot shows a road going through a canyon, and I cannot tell you how excited I was when I first saw this screenshot. Longtime viewers of the channel might remember a video I made a couple months ago where I talked about some potential locations from Georgia that might be showing up in the game, and what do you know? This was one of them. This is very clearly based on Providence Canyon State Park in Georgia. And even though the actual state park doesn't have a road running through the canyon, this is very clearly taking inspiration from it. And it's also this screenshot, among with many other factors, that makes me think that Rockstar is still withholding a lot of locations from this game, because we still don't really know what's in between the north and the middle part of the map. Like, there has to be some sort of transition area, because the map can't just all of a sudden look like this without transitioning slowly. I mean, Ambrosia is probably the closest location that kind of looks like this that we've seen so far, but there's still a lot of space in between Ambrosia and Mount Kalaga's area. But let's take a look at this screenshot, because there's a lot for us to look at here. Driving down the road, we can see a motorcycle club, and here we can see them overtaking this truck and passing them in the oncoming traffic lane. And if we look at the bottom, we can see this car swerving out of the way because this motorcycle is driving basically right at them, which might mean that we aren't the only people that are driving recklessly on the roads in this game. On the right side of the screenshot, we can see a panther climbing around on the slope, and then on the left side, we can see some deer hanging out on the ledge of this cliff. And if we look in the middle, we can see a concrete bridge, which looks like it's supporting a railroad track. And then under that concrete bridge, there's something that looks like it could be a river, but I honestly can't make out exactly what it is because it's a little hazy. Our next screenshot shows a focus on the wildlife in the game, with this panther on the far left very clearly hunting these deer across the stream. And if we look at the bottom of the panther, we can see that the bottom of its fur is wet as it's drooping down very realistically. This is also probably our closest look we've gotten at water in the game so far, and we can see that real-time reflections are happening in the stream, as we can see the deer being reflected over here, and the sky and trees in the middle. Also in the water, we can see debris like leaves and sticks, and it makes me wonder if these are all individual interactable objects in the game. Like, if you walk through the stream, are you going to kick up the different sticks and leaves? If so, that's going to be pretty incredible. And now we have our final screenshot for the entire video. An NPC kayaking down a river. This is likely going to be a side activity on its own that we can do in the game, and the water splashing here looks absolutely incredible. We once again have real-time reflections in the water where we can see the bridge above, and we can see the NPC in the kayak getting reflected into the water as well. In the middle here, we can see a concrete bridge with a railroad very clearly on it and a train passing by on it. And on the far left, we have a flood gauge meter. And I'm curious to know if this is going to be something that changes in the game as well. Will the rivers be flooding? Will the river levels be changing at all? Or is this just purely decorative in the game? To the left of the flood gauge meter, we can see a fox in the background. And the final detail that I want to point out from this screenshot is the fact that this kayak is branded as a Crest kayak. And this is interesting to me because it seems like there are a lot of different brands being introduced to us in this game. In GTA 5, there were the recognizable brands from previous games, and there are new brands as well, but a lot of the time when you had stuff like a kayak, there wasn't a brand on it, it was just a kayak. But it seems to be that they're really implementing a lot of brands in this game to make sure that everything feels like it's a part of this world and it's been existing for longer than we've been playing the game. And to finish the website off, we get one final video. Lucia pulls a gun out and then Jason closes the trunk. And I just really love this shot. There isn't a whole lot of extra details to pull from this, but this is probably my favorite video on the whole website if you don't count the trailers. In the trunk on the far right, we can see a gas canister, a football, and then a few other objects that I can't really make out what they are. But seeing Lucia pull a gun out of the trunk makes me think that we really are going to be using our trunks to store our weapons in the game. And because of that, I think it's incredibly unlikely that we're going to be able to walk around with a million different guns on us at any given time. Like, we're not going to be able to switch from a handgun to an RPG in a millisecond if it's not actually physically on our person. And with that, we have officially looked at all 70 screenshots and every single video on the website. And I honestly don't know why, but I did not expect this video to be as long as it is. Nor did I expect it to take as long as it has taken me to make it. But oh boy, this is just the beginning. We're going to be putting out a lot more videos over the next couple of weeks now that I have this out of the way. In the next week or so, I plan on revisiting Trailer 2 and going over some details that I missed the first time, along with some of the things that I got wrong. So if you don't want to miss that video, make sure you subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it as well. It would mean a lot. And in the meantime, go ahead and check out my Trailer 2 overanalysis video if you haven't seen that one already.